All right. The next thing I want to do is put in my chair and my little table. The fire ring is big, so I'm going to put that in next. And we also need our lantern, and we need some of our critters. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and put in the fire ring, put in an oval here. Remember, that's so that we can put our logs around it so that we're safe. But before we actually draw the rocks for the fire ring, I'm going to do the fire itself. And we made the fire out of rectangles that were standing kind of in a teepee arrangement. So there's a rectangle here, there's a rectangle here, there's a rectangle here, and at the top we're going to put teardrop shape that overlap each other like this, and you can do the same thing on the inside like that. Now we will go back and add more detail for the logs when we're doing our inking. Now remember, the fire ring, the rocks that go around it actually are just ovals, and as they come to the front they get bigger like this. This fire is awfully close to the water, so maybe it won't be a hazard or a disaster. Okay, now, the hardest thing I think we learned how to do was the camp chair, because it was a three-dimensional object. And we started with some guidelines to help us draw our diamonds to show where the feet and the seat went. So over here, I'm going to draw those 3 vertical lines again, tall like this, so that we can see where our camp chair is going to go. At the bottom then, I'm going to start and make my diamond shape like this. This is a guideline, so draw very lightly. And then I'm going to move up and I'm going to do the same diamond shape a little bit taller. Now this is going to be the seat of our chair. All right, and we're going to use these vertical lines then also to draw the back of the chair. And you want this parallel line and this parallel line to be the same as this one, and that gives you the back of your chair. All right, now we're going to crisscross the seat, the legs underneath, and we're going to go from this corner to this corner and from this corner to this corner. So let's do that. And let's actually give it a little bit of weight. Instead of just making it a line, we're going to make it like a really long rectangle. And do the same thing over on this side, 2 lines going down. And we're going to do the same thing on the back of the chair. We're going to go from this corner to this corner and this corner to this corner. And since this is the seat of the chair, I'm just going to very lightly just run right through it like this and do the same thing going the opposite direction. And there we have it. There's your camping chair. I hope that's not too confusing for you. It is fairly technical 3D stuff, so if you need to go back and look at it again, please make sure that you do so. Spend as much time as you want to making sure that that looks the way you want it. Then we're going to put our table next to it, and this one we said we're just going to make an oval. Very simple camping chair. And as a matter of fact, we can even put a lip on it if you wanted to, like that. Okay, and then down from there, we're just going to do an X. Now we know in reality that this wouldn't stand on its own, but that's okay. Like that. Okay, camping chair. Now we've got a table, we've got our fire, and now I'm going to put in the lantern, sorry. Now the lantern was a little bit more technical too. I'm going to overlap my chair a little bit because the lantern is going to sit next to the chair so that when it gets really dark outside, we can go ahead and use it. So let's see, for you to be able to see this well, I'm just going to take out a little bit of my chair here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, over here, I'm going to start with an oval at the top. This is going to be the shade of our lantern, and it sort of is an upside down version of what we did for our bucket in the previous drawing. Then we're going to move down and we're going to do a smaller oval down below and a cylinder shape down there like this, and then a larger one to go around the bottom for the base, and a cylinder shape down here like that. And then at the bottom we'll just add one more little base like that. It's almost like a tiered layer cake. Now, in order to make the space where the light is going to go, we're going to go not from the corner, we're going to move in just a little bit, and we're going to go down like this, and we're going to go down like that. Okay, our lighting element would go in the middle, so we're going to draw a straight line down and another straight line like that. And then to create the handle, that's going to be a rounded rectangle like we did on our shovel. We're going to go out from here and up. You can make the rectangle first if you want to, and then go back when you do your inking. And you can round them. Or you can leave them rectangle if you want to. Either way is fine. All right, let's see. Before we get to our critters, which I really am, I would love to do very quickly, this is going to be a night scene because we've already started our fire and we've got the lantern out. So I'm going to go back up here in the sky and I'm going to add a circle. And I think since this is a night scene and we need as much light as possible, we can make it a full moon, but I think it's more interesting if you just add a little bit of a line to it like that. So this would be a waxing gibbous moon. So it's mostly lit up, but there's a little bit that's not, okay? And you can do stars any way that you want to. You could add clouds to this. We learned how to do clouds in the other scene. The clouds would do beautiful. We didn't talk about stars in this. I think imperfect stars are beautiful. And so I always encourage my students, you can do 5-pointed stars the way you learned in elementary school, or you can kind of make them look unusual and raw and ragged. You could even do as many points as you want to, like this. Put as many stars in the sky as you'd like. Make it look interesting. Like that. Okay? All right, so that's our sky. Now let's go ahead and get the critters put in here. I know we've been waiting to do that. So down here, I know these are going to be really big in comparison to the rest of our scene, but let's just pretend like they're as close to us as possible so that it doesn't look so odd. We're going to do the big frog, we're going to do some dragonflies, and then of course the ants that are always at every camping scene. All right, so there's enough space for him. I'm going to put the frog over here, and I am going to make him a good size so that you can see what I'm doing. Now remember with the frog that we started with an egg shape like this, so it's more pointy on this end than it is down on this end. Okay, and then in order to make the hind leg, we're going to do another oval back here and just a little one that sits over like this, and the front leg is going to look sort of like a C or a half moon like that, and that's where we're going to put his toes. Okay. Oh, and you might not be able to see the toes on something that small, but we can go ahead and put those in there. Then for the back leg, remember that we did two sort of interlocking C's like this in order to make his leg muscles look like they belong. So I've got one that goes like this, and then I've got one that goes like this. And then that's where we're going to put his toes. Now you can imagine in this night scene that the frogs are croaking and the crickets are chirping. This is exactly the kind of night scene that I would like. All right, on the other side of his head, we have like a half circle for his eye. And then we're also going to do another eye on this side with kind of an eyebrow above it with a half circle like that. And just one line through the middle since it's so small. And a dot for his nose. There's our frog. Now remember, when we go back in and we ink it, we're going to add a roughness to his back. We want to add some spots to him, but we can do that when we're doing our inking. And then let's see, we want to do some dragonflies. I'm going to put these off in the distance. We'll make it look like they're a little bit closer by making them bigger. All right, so with the dragonfly, I'm going to overlap a little bit here on my tent so that you can see it. I'm going to do the oval for his thorax. Remember, there was a long rectangle, or excuse me, triangle for his abdomen, and then a smaller circle for his head. And then to make the wings, we want to start here from his shoulder, and we want to have tall, thin triangles that overlap each other. Now in reality, of course, they have 4 wings, but from this side we may only see maybe 3 of them. Okay? And then let's go back in and add the detail on the abdomen or his tail. The last one is kind of pointy. And we want to add his legs like this. This would be a real dive bomber of a dragonfly if it really were that big. And when I like to put his big eyes in there too, like that. Okay, you can put as many dragonflies in there as you want to. I'm just going to leave it with 1 right now, and I'm going to add some ants down here that are joining the party. All right, so again, the ants are going to be fairly small, but we're going to make them big. I certainly would never want to find this big an ant in my camp. I would probably move if there were this big an ant. So we did an oval for his thorax, kind of a teardrop shape for the abdomen, then a little circle for his head, and if you want to add the details in there, then of course we're going to have little legs going off like this, and his pinchers and his feelers going off the front. And again, you can draw as many of these as you want to. I'm going to do 1 more, make it look like they're going towards, I don't know, food on the campfire, something like that. And you see, as they get smaller, you don't have to have near as much detail. Okay? One more thing that I want to add, because I am a sucker, when you have a campfire, you got to have s'mores. So I'm going to make a long stick, and at the end of it, I'm going to have a rounded rectangle, and this is my s'more. Thank you to the Boy Scouts for making up that beautiful, wonderful treat.